Let me start by thanking my colleague and elder brother, Ezekiel Machogu, for making himself available here this morning. I only spoke to him yesterday because he had been in the field with the president, and I told him, look, we have to go to Kisumu and meet lecturers, academicians, because they are the only stakeholder segment we have not met. And he told me he will be here this morning, and truly he has managed to come. Let me also, in equal measure, thank most sincerely Professor Nyabundi and by extension Maseno University for hosting us here. When I called Professor Nyabundi, I think it was on Monday, and I told him, look, we need to meet lecturers and academicians, more so from the Nyanza region, so that we brief them about the conference. We cannot be holding the conference in Kisumu, yet we have not engaged the academicians, and yet they are an integral stakeholder segment from that region. So he readily accepted to help coordinate this. I spoke to almost all the other vice chancellors, and I told them, I requested them to liaise with Professor Nyabundi for purposes of coordination. And for that, I want to most sincerely thank Professor Nyabundi and Maseno University. We all owe you a great debt of gratitude. And to all of you, because you are very busy people, you work 7 days a week as academicians, as researchers. We don't take it for granted that this Saturday morning you have found it imperative, necessary, appropriate to come and interface with us on the home stretch of this conference. Again, we want to thank you most sincerely for this. Now, the chair of the organizing committee, Jeff Olende, has espoused what we have done so far and how we have gotten to this level. It has been indeed a long journey. When we reached out to a group of professionals, more so from Nyanza, but from different functional domains, and requested them to get together so that they can participate in the development agenda of this region, and specifically to organize an international investment conference where we can get a thought platform, bring in prospective investors from both within and outside the country so that we can have a discussion, establish a common denominator between investors and our region, informed by the comparative advantages of Nyanza. They readily accepted, and they have toiled to get us to where we are today. We are only a few days, less than a week now, to the International Investment Conference. Now, the reason why we are here, good people, is because we want to do a conference which is different from those which have taken place before. Our histories are washed with examples of conferences which have been held in this region, but there have always been complaints subsequent to those conferences, symposiums, that critical stakeholder segments have not been adequately engaged. And it is because of this that we found it imperative to adopt an all-inclusive and participatory approach as we prepare for this conference, so that no single integral stakeholder segment is left out. Because none of us, starting with yours truly here, has got exclusivity of ideas. We all have a role to play. We all know the development challenges of this region, and we all, in our own wisdoms, have got an idea or two to contribute towards what we need to do to alleviate the challenges facing Nyanza as a region. And that is why we are reaching out to you this morning. We have held similar fora. We started with the business community. We had a meeting with them here in Kisumu from all over Nyanza under the auspices of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have subsequently held meetings with doctors, and health professionals. We had a meeting with them in Nairobi. We have met those in the built economy. We have met the architects, the engineers, quantity surveyors, and planners. We have met the Law Society of Kenya, the lawyers under the auspices of the Law Society of Kenya, led by the President of the Law Society of Kenya herself. The last meeting we had before this was with the accountants under the auspices of ICPAC. They were led by the chair and vice chair of ICPAC, And they all agreed that this is an idea that whose time has come. This conference should have been held yesterday, and they committed to taking part in the conference. So that's why we are here to engage you in the same vein so that we work together as far as this conference is concerned. Next is the fact that we have also engaged other critical stakeholder segments at different levels. Together with my elder brother Ezekiel Machogu here, we have briefed His Excellency the President about this conference. We did request him to take part in the conference, and he duly accepted not just to take part, but also to officially open the conference next week Friday and also be a keynote speaker at the conference. We have also, courtesy of the organizing committee, reached out to all other integral stakeholders from Nyanza. The committee, at the very onset, reached out to the county governments. In fact, even the development opportunities which have informed the profile that the chair articulated has largely been borrowed from the county CIDPs. Others have also been borrowed from the Lake Region Economic Block Strategic Plan and also the Lake Basin Development Authority Master Plan. So the development opportunities of this region are known. What we now need to do, good people, is to work together, reach out to our networks from within the country and beyond, so that we can translate these policy documents and strategy to results. That is where the elephant in the room. We end up with doing conferences, coming up with very good blueprints, but the recommendations emanating from those blueprints never see light at the end of the day. So this time round, we are determined to go the full hog by ensuring that even subsequent to the International Investment Conference, we are going to set up a secretariat that will help us follow up implementation of the proposals, the programs, the partnerships that shall have been entered into at the conference, and also monitor, evaluate, and report on the implementation status of those projects. Of course, working in tandem or partnership with integral stakeholder segments, including but not limited to the county government. Let me just, in a nutshell, give you an expose as an officer serving in government of some of the major government interventions in this region, informed by the opportunities, just with a view to creating an enabling environment for the private sector to thrive. In the space of blue economy, we already have major interventions. When we came into government, the first cabinet meeting that we held, the first project that His Excellency the President appended his signature to was the Kabonyo Fish Training Institute at a whopping 3 billion shillings. That project has been commissioned, the funding has come from the government of Hungary, and the contractor has been engaged, contractual processes is complete, and the contractor will soon be on site. Still in the same space, we are establishing and operationalizing fish landing sites to sort out the perennial problem of lack of refrigeration facilities that has faced the fishermen in this region. It is ironical that we sit on the lake, but still we eat fish which is imported from China. It's actually embarrassing. This time around, we want to get it right. We are establishing fish landing sites across all the beaches in Nyanza, starting with Usenge, Wichloom, Luanda Kutieno, Asembo Bay, here in Kisumu, Kindu Bay, Homa Bay, all the way to down in Mihur, in Migori County. If we sort out that, and our fishermen are able to get refrigeration facilities close to the source of the fish itself, and then subsequently we expand the Kisumu airport, which is also in the plan, over and above other airport facilities which are envisaged to be expanded, we should be able to extract fish from the lake and export directly, externally, from here in Nyanza to external markets. Still within that space, we are aware that we have had 2 dams which have historically been in plan but have not seen light at the end of the day. One of them is the Korusoin Dam, The other one is Magagwa Dam in Kisii. Both of these dams are at the center of the government's development agenda. The only challenge we have been facing is that the model that was envisaged for these dams is not feasible and sustainable within the context of the prevailing economic reality and situation. As opposed to relying on full exchequer funding, we have now re-engineered the model as a government so that we go the route of public-private partnership. Last week, what ran CS Water was in Indonesia to negotiate a partnership between an Indonesian private firm and the Kenya government so that they can pump in money in Korusoin Dam and Magagwa Dam as well. That is now work in progress. And if that happens, we should be able to sort out the flooding problem in Nyando. We should be able to utilize that dam for purposes of irrigation. We should be able to utilize it to augment the output of the Sondu Miriu project for purposes of electricity and also to facilitate last mile delivery of water to the household. On infrastructure again, we have the Lake Region Ring Road. This road emanates all the way from Busia up to the Kenya-Tanzania border. It has historically been in plan, but this time around we are geared, determined as a government to get it right. It has already been redesigned. It was designed much earlier. It has been redesigned by the Kenya National Highways Authority. The Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure has approved it. It has been forwarded to Treasury, which is now in the negotiations with the World Bank for purposes of funding. And all factors being held constant, it is advised that we should be able to get funding for this major project. And it will open up the entire Nyanza region for purposes of trade and commerce, not just within Nyanza itself, also between the Nyanza counties and the other counties, other parts of Kenya, and also facilitate trade between this region and the neighboring countries. Part of that road is already work in progress. There's a 53-kilometer ring road in Mufangano Island, which is already being done. Another 20 kilometers within Rusinga Island, again, is already being done. So we believe that in the not too distant future, that road will be pursued to a logical conclusion. I just want to mention a few other major roads. Now, I know we have been complaining about stalled roads, not just in Nyanza, but other parts of the country. As a government, the position we have taken is that any funding that is available at our disposal for purposes of roads will first of all go towards completion of the stalled roads. And that is where the Mamboleo Miwani Chemelil Road sits. But there are also integral roads informed by the opportunities available in certain regions which we are determined to undertake to open up the economies of these regions. I want just to mention but a few of them. In Kisii, for example, we have the Hispania-Kisii Road. Yeah? That project is ongoing. It's about 95% complete. We have the Kenyenya-Motonto upgrading of that road is in progress to Buchanan standards at a whopping 3.47 billion shillings. That again is work in progress. Within Kisii again, in Nyamira, we have the Nyamira County Aggregation and Industrial Park. That is work in progress. We have also the construction of modern markets in Nyamira, specifically Nyansiongo Retail Market. That is work in progress at 194 million shillings. We also have affordable housing projects. There's one in Mabera, another one in Kuria West, in Bigori. That again is work in progress. We also have the integrated markets and ESP markets, the economic stimulus markets, which are spread evenly all over the country. We have got a critical mass of those markets which are already work in progress within Nyanza. So all I want to say, good people, is that as far as the infrastructure of Nyanza is concerned, the government is aware of what needs to be done. And if everything goes right, those infrastructural projects will be sorted out. In agriculture, specifically the sugar sector, for example, the government has written off all the debts that were owed by farmers, 117 billion shillings. The government has also sorted out farmers' arrears to the tune of 75%. The remaining 25% will be sorted out this coming financial year, which is next month. We are now going the extra mile to bring in private sector investors to pump money into those farms, not for purposes of sale, but for purposes of lease, so that we can again revitalize those companies to attain optimal capacity utilization levels. So, good people, the assurance that I want to give you is that perhaps since independence, this time round, we have got a government that is truly passionate about real economic development of Nyanza. And if we work together, all of us, whether we are in government or in the private sector, in our individual capacities or collectively, we should be able to sort out and facilitate optimal exploitation of the development opportunities that we have in this region. So please, let's roll up our sleeves. Let's work together with both levels of government, the county government, the national government. Let us not sit back and assume that development is the preserve of either the county governments on one hand or the national government on the other. It behoves all of us to get involved in that space. And perhaps as academicians and professionals, if there is any one thing that we will be remembered for in the annals of history, is that in our lifetime, we played our part in the development agenda of our region.